Hi, I'm Yingyee, and you're listening to The Asian CEO, which ignites and encourages Asian women in the entrepreneurial space to be proud of who they are and show up as the best version of themselves. All right, so hello everyone. Welcome back to The Asian CEO. And today I have Cat Marsden. And hi, Cat, how are you?
Hi, good. I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
Of course. And you're my first Australian guest. So this is very exciting. So the time zone difference though, we actually worked out pretty well though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's perfect timing. I just drop the kids off, come straight back home, and yeah.
Of course, yeah. And how old are your kids?
I've got two, so one's 10 and one's 5.
Oh, okay. So they're in elementary school and preschool.
Yeah. I guess your equivalent to yours would be year 5 is fifth grade, I think maybe
Oh, really? Okay.
the older one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we go by year, and my youngest is in kindy.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, yeah, so give the listeners, a little bit 30-second intro of what you do.
Yeah, sure. Yes, so hi, I'm Cat Marsden. I'm a mindset coach and I help Asian women break free from the generational conditioning and rewrite and become the leading lady of their story.
When did you start your mindset coaching business?
I started, I was coming up to my 1 year anniversary in September actually. So I started last September.
Congrats. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so not long ago. So yeah, I am very excited and I feel so grateful to be able to help other women just like you and I become more empowered and take the helm of their life and actually living the life that they wanted to live.
Yeah, because I saw your account on Instagram and I was going through your content, and I just love the way how you spoke to a lot of your audience. And I feel like, especially, us Asian women growing up in a childhood where money isn't really talked about, where it's just like be a doctor, be an accountant, or something like that, be a lawyer to be successful. But there's more than those job fields. So
100%. 100%.
so what did you do before you started coaching?
Oh, yeah. Funny you mentioned that, you become a doctor, an accountant, or a lawyer. It's one of those professions that, you made it
Yeah.
in our culture. And I am definitely that definition. I was your typical corporate girl. I graduated from one of the top university in Thailand, and then I got a job in the graduate program at PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big four accounting firm. Um, then I moved on and become the corporate consultant, where I helped companies set up their processes and writing standard operating procedure. Um, then I felt trapped is probably the word. So I decided to move to Australia, first to do my study, and then I I was working at the one of the government agency in the firefighting sector actually, and that's a whole other story altogether on how women of color can actually make their mark in a predominantly white male industry. But yeah, but it was during that time where I was working with the fireys that I started my coaching business, that I felt like I had a message to share with the world and I felt I need
Yeah.
to do something about it. So, yeah.
So take me back to when you felt that feeling that you had to share it to the world. Like, what feeling did you feel at that time?
Uh, it's one of those things where you look back at your life and you felt like, what, I've actually accomplished a lot. And if I've had growing up, if I had someone like me showing me or helping me through a few things that I've been through, maybe my life would have looked different today or it wouldn't have been so hard in those moments. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to be that person to help someone else.
I love that because as a role model, right? Are you the oldest in your family too?
Oh, could you tell? Yes, I am.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I've got a younger brother. He's 4 years younger than me, and yeah, our life has been completely different in many aspects as well. Like I love him, like he's very dear to my heart, very close. But yeah, we grew up very differently, and looking at who we are today, I can see how our upbringings and the experiences that we've, you know, experienced in the past have shaped us. Being a boy and a girl in an
Yeah.
Asian culture, for one thing, it's very different.
How did you grow up, like your childhood being that first daughter, first sibling, the oldest in your family? Did they expect more out of you, or traditional a traditional Asian woman get married really fast or something like that?
Oh, very, very. Yeah, well, not so much the marriage part, but probably more of a so my mother's side, my grandfather is from China, mainland China, so he's very traditional in his values, and he had 6 children, all of whom were female, except for one. My uncle is the male, so he was like, the golden child of the family. And I understand my grandfather has a rough upbringing moving by himself. He was the immigrant from China to Thailand, and he built up this business on his own, but with a lot of the daughter's helps. But when it's time to pass down, everything was, there was no question. Everything had to go to the son, and that's it's always been. I don't think it was spoken, but I don't think the ladies in the family felt that was fair, but we accepted that, that's our values. And I don't think my mom, I don't think it was intentional, but it was expected that I would, as the eldest and as the daughter, would always look after my brother. Your expectation to, make sure the house is tidy, because I don't know what your family is like, but mine is like, it's everyone's working, as everyone's 24 hours working. It's like a family business that never stops, and the kids had to be very independent and make sure that it's not like me today, where I go, oh, to my children, oh, pack your lunch, and make sure you've got this and make sure you've got that. This is sports day today, this is what you wear, blah blah blah. It's like, yep, you've got to be self-sufficient, we don't have time to help you. And so it would fall on me to also make sure that my brother is ready for school. Little things like that, I don't think it was intentional, but it's just how we were brought up.
Yeah, two things. Going back to how you said you wish that you had someone like you growing up to show you the way. I'm also the oldest in my family, and I feel like both of us, that's why we have such an entrepreneurial spirit, because we want a life and we have to pave the way to create that life too. And it's just, I remember I had this phone call with my brother, and he was getting yelled at because he just wanted to go to community college instead of, a traditional 4-year university. And my parents were like, that's a disgrace. That's so bad. Community college is so bad. And for me, I understood that. I was in his shoes. And I remember I told my mom I wanted to drop out of college for a semester, and she would not talk to me at all. And during that time, I wish I had an older sibling, to just talk to my parents about it, so that I felt like I didn't have to go through it alone. Because there's something where you want to protect your younger siblings from what your parents say to you as the oldest. And so when my brother told me that, though, I called my mom and dad right away, and I was like, don't you dare say that to him. It's not a disgrace. Like, you have to encourage him. And I just feel like those little things, I totally get, I totally relate how you just want someone to help you with that. And then the second thing is going back to your brother. I heard a saying like, as the first child, you're also growing up with your parents. So they're treating you like you're their partner in taking care of their children. And then children after you, the youngest children, they kind of like are, oh, I know what to do, as an older sister, there's like you're a mother in a sense too. So I can tell how that can be a burden sometimes, because you do want your own childhood instead of being responsible for taking care of someone because you're so young still. So that really related a lot to me.
Yeah, 100%. And kudos to you and your brother as well. Like, a lot of us, like myself included, first of all, I don't even know what I want because I'm always constantly being told this is what you do, this is the next box you need to tick, and this is what you do to find happiness. For you and your brother to have the courage,
Yes,
to
yes.
dream and to know what you want and go after it. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you. Well, take me back. So you had that feeling about a message that you had to share. How did you go about that? Were you still working at your job when you were starting your coaching business?
Yeah, yeah, I was, and I still am now. I'm not full time in the business yet, but I want to be. I will hope to be. So I
Mhm.
started. I did my certification, life coaching, probably a year before that, and then life happens. Things got in the way, children. But yeah, I've started coming full time, not full time, but focusing more on my business about a year ago. That's when I started my Instagram account and start coaching other women
Okay.
in various different topics. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you mainly focus on mindset coaching right now?
Yeah, mindset coaching right now. And I know there's a lot of things that we can do consciously to improve our life, to change our lives, but I'm really into subconscious now. I feel like that has made the biggest impact in my life. The subconscious mind is an amazing thing. You have this super computer in between your ears, and I think everyone needs to start using them.
Yeah, so would we be able to go into more of that subconscious? Is it like what you say about yourself is how your brain takes it? If that makes sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit. So when most of us are growing up and we're taught that if we wanted to change our life, we had to do something differently, right? So, say if you wanted to be a healthier person, we have to get up early and we set the alarm clock and we want to work out, we want to wear certain clothes, get a gym membership and do all these or change our behaviors so that we can create the outcome. But the thing is, we just started doing, right? We rush into the doing without thinking of what actually that would give us. So, for example, like if you wanted to start photography, it might look like you go out and buy a bunch of camera equipment, but you never actually take the picture. And that would satisfy, right? I'm doing something about it. So, we just have to ask ourselves, like, why does that happen? Why are we so ready to make a short term change, but nothing ever actually stick, like a New Year's resolution? It's because we're so quick to do, and we're running on hamster wheels and we're not seeing results. And then we fall off the hamster wheel is because the shift is not really coming from inside of us. Our beliefs are not shifted to support who we want to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that does. And so it's really changing the beliefs and does it go into, telling yourself every day, you can do this, or how would you go about trying to be more consistent?
Yeah, well, affirmations is one of the tools that we could use. Visualization, hypnosis. I find that a lot of people have this perception that it's, we just keep telling ourselves this and things will change. It's a lot deeper than that. And it's not always going to be pretty. It's sometimes it can be really painful. There are times I'm just sitting here like bawling my eyes out with my coach going like, what the heck just happened to me? But it's looking at our paradigm, looking at the programming that we've been programmed, like, from the age of 0 to 7. That's when our programming really happens. And sometimes people think programming is a bad thing. It's not really. It does serve us in a lot of ways. Like, for example, if you weren't taught how to use a fork, you wouldn't be able to feed yourself. If you weren't taught how to walk, you wouldn't be able to get up and do things by yourself to be more independent. So, when you understand how you have been programming, you understand your belief and recognizing that some of the beliefs that you have is no longer serving you, it's no longer aligned with who you want to become, then, your energy is different. Your energy shift, your way of being shift, your relationship with yourself change, and in turn your behavior change, and that's create more of a self-trust and a confidence for you to actually go out and do things you wanted to do without actually forcing and relying on the willpower that doesn't last for very long.
Oh, thinking about it, starting my own business, I had to go through a lot of programming and realizing, like you said, some of these beliefs aren't serving me anymore. I feel like a lot of listeners will relate to this now because that is so true. And growing up Asian with our generational trauma that our parents just put on us and grandparents and everything, there's a lot of shifts that you need to change to start doing something too. And I also feel like a lot of people like New Year's resolution, like you brought up, a big one is I'm going to go to the gym every week now, and they stop is because they don't see that change. They don't see that change and they just start dropping off. Do you see that with a lot of the students that you've been working with too? That little setback that they have?
I do, and it's one of those things where you self-sabotage yourself. Like, in the back of your mind, you might know that is what I want, and I know I can do it, but there's this little voice in your head. Like, for example, like for me, for a very long time, I was believing that I'm a shy person. Like, when I moved to America when I was 13, I couldn't speak a word of English. So I was afraid to speak. I was afraid to make friends. So I kept telling myself that, oh, I'm a shy person and people wouldn't like me. They wouldn't understand me. They'll hate my accent. They'll make fun of my accent. And that was the mindset that I had. And I just assumed that the way life had to be, that Cat was always shy and I wasn't good at meeting new people, making new connections. And that's just how life was. And I didn't realize that was a belief that was so strongly embedded that I was creating my own fulfilling, self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I was creating the habits that keeps fostering that belief. And when I start to do the inner work and change my belief around that, it's like, what, actually, I am an interesting person. Like my experience is, dare I say, empowering to other people, even inspiring to other people who might be going through the same thing, like, might be moving countries or moving back home and, find themselves they don't fit in anymore. I've had that experience and I can share those experience. So yeah, it's just that little shift in your mind, that what you tell yourself. And once you start to change from the inside, then you're able to open up your mind to a new opportunity and therefore you create it. Hence a coaching business comes along. Yeah,
That's awesome. How did you so this is your first business?
yes, it is. Yes.
Were there a lot of like self-doubt that came along with it as well and the inner work that you had to do about it?
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest realization that you had while working through your old beliefs?
You know what? I might get a little emotional about this 'cause I'm still working through
Oh,
it.
that's
But
okay.
one of
Oh.
the biggest thing is, as an older daughter and the first daughter as well, growing up, we seek approval. I seek a lot of outside approvals, and I think in a way I still do. And my mom has her own business in Thailand. And when I was graduating from university, I had this idea in my head that, not that I don't need to go out and find a job and that the family business was my responsibility. But when I spoke to my mom about it, she said, no, I don't want you to get into the family business, because the reason she gave me at the time was that, radio was dying. We were in like radio advertising business and we still are. That radio was dying and it's not going to be a long-term business to sustain the family long term. So she would rather me go out and get a job, be the accountant, be the auditor that I was meant to be.
Right, right.
um, and instead of hearing her reasoning, I internalized that as she didn't trust me with the business. So I had to work a lot, work through that quite a bit. And one of the shifts that my coach said to me is, was there any other reason that, can we look at it in a different way, that why she didn't want you to get into the business? And I realized that it wasn't because she didn't trust me or she was disapproving of my ability. It was because she probably just didn't want to fight with me. If we were in the business together, she loved me too much. She valued our relationship too much
Wow.
to risk that. So I think that was one of the biggest shift I have. So that, that in turn increases my self-belief in starting my own business as well.
Wow, that is probably all your life you thought she didn't trust me. And there was that tension between your mom and you, and finding out that that wasn't the case. That must have been life-changing too, and cutting that
Oh, it
tension
was
off.
huge.
Yeah, yeah, because
Hmm.
in the back of your mind, it's always there, but it makes you appreciate kind of what your parents want you to do too, and for you to have a better life, or for you to just she wanted to save that relationship. Because starting like a business with a family or friends can be,
Can be tough.
oh, hard. Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I
No,
really
that's
appreciate
okay.
it. So when someone is, starting a business and they have this idea, how can they see clarity or more of the bigger why in their business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I thought about this when you sent me through the questions earlier. And I think it's really important that we look at our goals from both an emotional and a practical side of things. So, a lot of times that we're working with our subconscious mind, right? And they always want to conserve energy, like 95% of whatever we do in life is subconscious. So, that's a lot of energies and strain on our brain. So they want to do as little as possible while still achieving that goal. Yeah. So when you setting goal and you want to get really, really clear on it, it's you want to have the exact amount of the tangible number that you can count on, and also you want to get clear on a subconscious level where what can you see when you achieve that goal, what can you hear when you achieve that goal, what do you feel, and you experience that internally, so that you can set sort of program your subconscious mind to actually go after it. And I guess it's like putting a destination in the GPS. You got to know exactly where you want to go, or it can't take you there. But the big problem that I see my clients is struggling with is they're mistaking the emotion as a goal. So you set a goal as your goal is, I want to be happy. But what is that? Like, being happy is what you can have like any minute of any day. Like you could have a day where you wake up feeling happy, and then in the afternoon you go, not so much anymore. And then before bedtime, you're like, yeah, I'm happy again. So, it's something that you can achieve in like 30 seconds or a minute, but it's not a goal. So yeah, you just got to get really clear on the difference between the emotion and the outcome, so that you have a clear direction and it's not ambiguous. You can't put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And another thing to remember as well is it's different for everyone, the emotions. Like, if I ask you what your happiness look like, what you say would be completely different to mine. So you want to have a goal that achieves that emotion, but you are able to describe the goal.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like you have to kind of make actionable steps to really achieve what you want for it to be happy. Like happiness, like you said, is an emotion and it can last for 30 seconds. And if you want long term happiness, you have to work around what you want for you to feel fulfilled.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so if someone comes and say, I want to be happy, what kind of steps are you guys taking for them to be happy? I mean, of course, honing down what happiness is to them.
Yeah, yeah. You would start off, I would start off by asking, what does that happiness look like to you? Maybe describe it to me like, I want to buy, a plot of land with, 40 acres. I will have my swimming pool, and, see my kids running around, and maybe I have a horse and a barn on the side. And then you would start to write that down. You set a goal, you put on X date, I will have achieved X goal. And then to also make sure that you distinguish between being in emotion or getting really clear on your goal, then you would make it real in a sense. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
let me think of an example. Like you want it to be measurable, you put a number on it. If you want it to be, make more money in my business, how much is more money? $1,000? Is that enough? $10,000? Is that enough? $100,000? Is that enough? And when do you want it? You put a time on it, and that way you put yourself in a driver's seat, and then you start to break it down how you're going to get there. Do you need to take a left turn here, right turn there, go around the roundabout, and come back again, and go back up the road, turn right.
Right.
You work out a step to get into your goal, and you take responsibility for it as well. I think another thing that I see a lot of my client does is, they set a goal, but they not put themselves in the driver's seat. They then, when things happen, they're relying on someone else actions to save them from, falling off the track towards their goals. But make yourself accountable, put yourself in the driver's seat, then there is no one else to blame. Like, you are the
Yes.
cause of, it's the cause and effect. It's you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of manifesting. In a sense, if someone manifests, they're gonna manifest. For example, I want a big house. Okay, but if you're just manifesting it and you're not taking the actions, like putting yourself in the driver's seat to go out there and reach what you want as, a house, you're not going to get that. And I know some of the listeners are manifestors. I manifest, but it matters if you're going to do the work to get there, or are you just going to sit, in bed all day manifesting in your head? That's so different.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
and
100%. You need to take the action.
yes. um why do you think people give up on their goals? We did talk about this earlier, but it's so, New Year's resolution, for example, going to the gym. Why do they stop going to the gym? Or even in a business, they're a month in, and then 3 months, and then 6 months, they're slowly dying off. I'd love to hear your opinion about this.
You know what? I'm going to sound like a broken record. And I think people give up on their business or on their goals or whatever they want to achieve is because it gets hard. It gets really hard, and you don't have the mindset to support that. Like, when life gets hard, when things get difficult, you get wobbly, and your confidence get knocked, your self-trust get knocked. And if you don't have that foundational within yourself to pick yourself back up, you're never going to get there. So, one of the things that helped me the most in creating growth and to keep moving forward is have a sense of self-aware, and to be able to look at everything that you've gone through and look for opportunity for growth. Like, there's no failures, there's only lessons, and that's your opportunity to learn. Look at ways that maybe I might have been a part of what happened to me, or taking that responsibility again, and to know that, what, something that happened to me could cause by me, and I have the power to make a different choice to cause a different outcome. And I think that's, if you do take, take a breather, take time to reflect and look at the situation, you would be able to find the lessons in what happened, forgive yourself, and move forward instead of beating yourself up over roadblocks.
Yeah, my previous episode was about why having a business coach or a mindset coach is so important. This is why, because when you're feeling stuck and you don't want to do anything, your coach is there to make you accountable, really, and to push you to what you can do. And so I love that, and I think that's what you do too. You hold people accountable, and you also work through their programming. And do you think with programming, for some clients that you've seen some people who have a limited mindset, and then they've changed to having more of an unlimited, everything is, the world is my oyster mindset now?
Yeah, it's, what, it's as a coach, right, we're not here to fix you or to tell you what to do, because one of my principal beliefs is that you already have the answer within yourself. Granted, it might be painful to try and dig through to find that answer, but it's my job to help you through that, to support you, and and at times, like you said, hold up a mirror so that you can see what exactly you need to do to be able to move forward. I used to think that I wasn't successful because I wasn't taught how to be successful. I had a bad job because something bad happened to me. And you know what? It's just really a flip of the switch in the mindset to see things differently, and to be able to have a coach to ask you powerful questions, to be able to prompt you so that you can have a different perspective to the same situation really is what going to open up your mind to new possibilities.
Yeah, it's really like, you know what they say with the rose tinted glasses? I feel like with a coach, with those powerful questions that they ask you, you have a different view of the world, a different color of the world now after you've answered those questions about what you truly, truly want. What is something that you ask your clients? Something similar, a powerful question for you?
Yep. Okay. So if we continue on in this, context of how can I create a different outcome, first, I would get my client to actually validate the background first, like, understand how we got to this point. You validate your background, the past experience, the external system, whatever else is contributed to the life that we currently live. And, we can feel very empowered and know that the decision that we make can support in creating the life that we want. But the important question is first, what do you actually want? Like, half the time we know what we don't want. I don't want to gain 5 pounds and I don't want, to, I don't want a lot of things. But when you go, oh, I don't want to be unhappy for one, like I don't want to be unhappy and I want to be happy. But what does that actually look like? Can you define what that looks like? And once you define that, how are you going to get there? Like, how can you create a different outcome in the future? How can you move out of being having the mindset of things are happening to me? What can you do differently? Or what action can you take? Or looking from a third person's point of view, like with my mother, like if I was putting myself in her shoes, what would you see? How would you understand or interpret this situation? Would you still see it a different way? Is there any other possibility that you could see this situation? And then you would internalize it differently, and you would might be able to pick up a new habit, or break away from the loops that same situation keeps happening again. um yeah, I think every situation has a lesson in it.
Yeah. Back to when you said that question, what do you want? It's so simple. What do you want? 4 words, but so powerful. And sometimes, as a woman and growing up in a household that, the daughters have to kind of put their family first, thinking about it, we really think about what others want. What does my dad want? What does my boyfriend want? What does my husband want? Mom want? But not what we want. And that I have chills right now because that is actually so powerful. Like, you're really saying it's okay for once to put yourself first, and it's not selfish if you put yourself first. And I bet when you ask that, a lot of them, like, their eyes probably light up saying, what do I really want?
And a lot of them don't have an answer.
Yeah.
They'll go away, come back the following week, and they'll go, you
Really?
know what, and that would be one of the homework. Just think of what you really want. And one of the exercise that the readers can do too, just have a think about what your perfect day look like. Whatever you want is a possibility. How would you like to spend your day? Like, would you still wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Maybe you do. Maybe you want to go out for a run in the morning. Maybe that's what you want, but you were never able to do because the kids are home. You got to pack their lunch and you got to do things. But maybe that is what you want to do. And if you want to go out and get a coffee in the middle of the day, or do you want to work? You don't want to work. Do you want to go fishing during the day? Maybe. Like, just write out what would your perfect day look like, and if you had to live this one day according to you and your want, what would that look like?
And it really says a lot that that's such a hard answer because you said people they have a hard time answering that. So, wow, it really does say we tend to put others first. And by answering that question, there are steps to be taken to really live your dream life. Was that one of the questions that you really had to sit down and think about when you were feeling all the feels that you felt back a year ago?
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, you know what? And I'm not perfect. And sometimes I still, circle back to this question, what do I really want? And yeah, I could think of an example really of something that, happened recently that I wasn't
Oh, yeah.
happy with the outcome.
Mhm.
It wasn't what I wanted. And at first, it was, super easy for me to just go, oh, it's everybody else is doing this to me. I put the blame on the situation. I put the blame on
Mhm.
other people that was involved. And, for me to point the finger outside of myself because that what happened wasn't what I envisaged it to how it would happen. And then, when I started to reflect on the situation, I saw how I contributed to it as well. I didn't have the boundary. And, because I didn't have the boundary, people didn't have the respect to respect that boundary that I didn't have. And, I was going back to the old, people pleasing tendency and doing things for everybody else. But me and the things I was doing wasn't actually serving my goal. I was trying to do too many things for far too many people. And, it put me in a position I didn't want to be in. And if I keep looking at it from, blaming and pointing fingers, and I didn't learn from it, I'm never going to get out of this cyclical loop that I'm stuck in. And that's when I probably throw my hand up and go, yeah, you know what, I'm out. It's not what I want. But, I really look long and hard at that situation. And you know what? I'm going to set up my boundaries. I'm going to let go of these people pleasing tendency, and I'm going to actually do things that I want. Like, I'm going to, and it's not just doing things that you want as well. You've got to let other people know too. Like, how are they going to know this is your boundary if you don't tell them? So, yeah.
Yes, amen to that. Everything. I love it. And it goes back to business because for example, if you're in a business that you fell out of love with, you don't have to be in it. You can actually ask yourself again, what do you want? You want to start a new business? Go for it. And it's okay. So pivoting and everything, we tend to blame ourselves a lot. Like you said, it's your boundary. If people aren't going to respect it, then should you be hanging out with them? Because you as a person are very special too. And you should, I always say, put yourself first no matter what, because no one else is living in your shoes, no one else is living in your life. Like, put yourself first. Oh my god, that one question just opened up a whole lot of
Exactly. And you're
pathways there.
Yeah, yeah, and what you said is completely right. It is you. You are going to be the one who have to live with the consequences of your actions or inactions. So yeah, put yourself first. See what you want. And you know what? If it doesn't make other people happy, they're not your people. If they don't understand that, they're not your people.
Yes, because they should be happy for you and supporting you. Like, there's going to be times when people challenge you, but at the end of the day, it's good for you. So as we're coming to an end here, I always have a few questions that I like to ask you guys. So the first question is, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Ah, you know what? And this is probably another one that I can work on after this. I never thought of myself as a CEO. I have a lot of labels that I put on myself. I'm a daughter, I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, but I've never thought of myself as a CEO.
Oh, well, that's a
So
good
I'm going to
question.
have to take that one on notice and think about that one.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you said you still have a job on the other hand, and then this is you want this to be a full time. I feel like just starting already. Everyone starts from somewhere. You're a CEO already. I mean, look at you. You're a hustler, running and starting your social media. That's something already. What about this question? What has been the biggest lesson so far that you have learned while starting your business?
Oh, you know what? actions creates clarity.
I love that.
A lot of times I am in my head and I'm not doing anything, and times just goes by and I'm still confused. So just by taking actions, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, you know what works, you know what doesn't work. And it doesn't always have to be in your head. Just taking that action and the path will present itself.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kat, for being on the show. I feel like this was such a good conversation we had. Listeners will take a lot from this. So thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you for having me.
Yes, where can everyone find you?
Instagram is where I'm most active at Hello Cat Marsden. So come and follow and see what happens on there. I don't know what's going to happen on there either. So I'll take action and then clarity will happen.
Do you have any big plans for your business in the next 6 months to a year from here?
Yeah. Well, I am focusing very much on one-on-one coaching. I feel like I can make a lot more of a deeper impact on in a one-on-one setting with my clients. So that's where my focus is.
Awesome. Yes. So everything will be linked in the show notes to find Kat then.
Thank you. Thanks, Yingyee. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you.
Of course. Of course. You can connect with the Asian CEO on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and everything will be linked in the show notes. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.